Good afternoon, Atlanta. You're listening to WCEG Network, WCEG talkradio.com. It is time for Veterans Today. I am Herman Anderson, uh, one of the co-hosts. My buddy and other co-host, Anthony Aiken, is not available today. He's dealing with death in his family, so our prayers and condolences goes out to Brother Anthony and his Queen Brenda. We are the worldwide community empowerment. We speak life into the community, WCEG Network, and this program. And there are several ways you can listen to us. You can watch us live. We live stream Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can go to WCEG Network, www.wcegtalkradio.com. We are Roku streaming, WCEG TV channels. We have 12 podcast distributors, and you can do hashtag WCEG, hashtag WCEG TV, hashtag WCEG Network, hashtag this week suicide prevention, and hashtag veterans, hashtag veteran hip and veterans Atlanta. And today, before we get started, let me also let the listeners know that the topics and questions are those of the show hosts and guests, not WCEG Network. WCEG Networks is a nonprofit. We would gladly take your donation, accept your donation at 404-490-8646. My guest today is a veteran of the Air Force. I'm also an Air Force veteran. I'm going to read her bio, then we'll get started into the program. Our guest today, Connie Baptiste, Pride, Desert Storm, and Desert Shield post 9/11 Air Force veteran, military service to include active duty, Air Force Reserve, Georgia National Guard, born and raised in South Georgia. So was I. I was born in Lawrence County, Dublin, Georgia. She has strong dedication to everything Georgia military and family. Mother of two wonderful great sons, one amazing grandson, 20 years of experience in food service, hospitality, and industry, award-winning chef. She has been instrumental in developing future service and hospitality employees as culinary arts instructor and mentor. Have taught at two of Georgia's technical college and continue to mentor at high school and professional level. A mental health certified peer support specialist supporting the wellness of veteran health, farmers, promoting mental illness, lifelong advocate for women veterans, honoring a supporting change agent, inclusion and diversity, the owner of Hunter Family Farms. She's also a current philanthropist. Endeavors include, but not limited to, Georgia Department of Veteran Services. She was the Woman Veteran of the Year in 2023, which is just recently. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Women Veteran Social Justice Network, Senior Ambassador, Vice President to the Federal Employees Women Greater Atlanta Chapter, Executive Board Member, Warrior Songs, National Member with AgriSafe Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, recipient of 2019 Album of the Year, Wisconsin Area Music Industry, a mentor with American Corporate Partners, veteran mentor with Henry County veteran court. That's a lot. And so let's get started. My guest, Connie Baptiste, welcome to Veterans Today, and tell us what's on your mind.
Well, thank you, Mr. Herman. Every time I hear someone read my bio, it makes me think I feel like I've lived a long time to be able to have accomplished all those things. But to me, it has all been a labor of love. From joining the military in high school and to still serving in our veteran capacity. So thank you again for having me on the show.
We're gonna focus on about 3 or 4 things today. And I believe, if I'm correct, well, first of all, tell us about your Military Woman of the Year award. And
it was a complete shock when we did the gala. I worked on the committee to help put the gala together, because for me, women veterans need to be honored at the same hero level as they honor men. And this was the 75th year anniversary of women veterans having been authorized to serve in the military, even though we had been serving long before they signed it into law. This was the anniversary. And to win the award meant that people had been watching what I was doing for years. And I never thought about it as being award winning. I just knew that what I needed to do to help serve women veterans and to make sure they were seen and taken care of was my mandate. And enjoying all of it.
just, if I'm correct, this is the Georgia Department of Veteran Services, right? For the state
Yes,
of
sir.
Georgia.
It is, which makes it that much more special, being recognized in my home state, which I love dearly. There aren't very many of us that's from Georgia that's still here in Georgia. So it is always an honor to be recognized amongst your peers.
Okay. And so let's talk about a topic that's that the entire military is increasing their emphasis on. And we'll start with mental health overall, about males and females. Then we'll move down and talk about suicide prevention. And so, as in mental health wise, I know you do a lot of work with that area. So what are your thoughts on how the Veteran Administration is improving helping mental health?
Everybody's doing a lot to make it visible and bring it to the forefront. But there are still a lot of paradigms that are going to have to be shifted. And that's with the veterans themselves. I grew up in an era in the military where if you talked about mental health and getting support, you were non-retained and you weren't eligible for promotion. So it was definitely widely accepted that you just didn't talk about if you were not feeling good mentally, or if you needed to talk to someone. It wasn't something that we did. So now that it is being recognized that it needs to be addressed and how veterans handle it, it has to be a big shift and push to make it acceptable. And I myself, it took me a long time to realize that there were scars and things from my service that I needed to address in order to become healthy and happy. And again, just crossing that hurdle made a big difference for me, which again was one of the reasons why I became a certified peer support specialist, because I know that being out in the veteran community, that I needed to lead by example and show that it was no longer taboo to seek assistance and talk to someone and make sure that mental wellness became an everyday thing.
Uh, did you find, do you still find out in the community that it's a challenge to get veterans of all areas I'm a Vietnam era, so we're the oldest and we're probably the worst to even enroll in the VA system?
It is. And we encounter women veteran all the time that are leery about going to the VA. Not that they don't have good services, it is just history. And again, finding a welcoming space so that women veteran can come in and feel like they're being heard and their needs are being addressed. And the VA is definitely working toward breaking that paradigm and welcoming women veteran in. We have phenomenal people at the VA now that are working to make that happen.
That's great. Do you also get involved in assisting people because the VA has the benefit division, they also have the claims division. And do you get involved in the benefit and claim process at all, helping people navigate the system?
We collaborate with other organizations. WBSJ does not do claims themselves, but we partner with other organizations that do. And we have developed good relationships with those that can actually fulfill that need for veterans. And sometimes it starts with us convincing the veteran that there are services that they need and are entitled to. So again, women veterans have not always told that they've been women veterans, because sometimes there are stereotypical responses to it. And some of them may not have had a good time in the military. So just to be able to, one, be able to talk to them about that and put them in touch with people who will support them, it will make a big difference in getting women enrolled and letting them feel comfortable with working with the VA.
That's great. And okay, the next one is, I believe if I'm keep up with my current events, we just came out of September, and that was Suicide Prevention Month. Am I correct?
Yes.
So let's talk about suicide prevention year round. So what are your thoughts on that?
Suicide prevention has a lot of arms. And there are a lot of things that have to be considered and thought about when you embark on the journey of preventing suicide. You hear the 22 a day numbers that have been out there for as long as I can remember of how many veterans commit suicide. And what for women veteran, you find very few that will quote our numbers. But it's so compounded that preventing suicide takes a lot when you talk about the whole person, you're talking about mental wellness, you're talking about physical wellness, you're talking about housing instability. Sometimes they intersect with human trafficking. So there are so many places and so many things that you have to look at when you start talking about suicide prevention and getting to the root of what will help our veterans. Sometimes it's a better paying job. Because again, we get, the veterans seem to be younger and younger. There are very few that are doing 20 years like myself. So they come out and Uncle Sam has given them a check every 2 weeks. They lived in the barracks, so they didn't have to manage housing. They had money to pay for car repairs. Most of them have children. So you have to look at all of those things that they run into when they come out. And all of those things play a major factor in how veterans live. Some of them come
That
out. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
just to stop you at that point, because it kind of that's like you say, even if you stay in 20 and you still only around 40 years old or less when you get out. So hopefully you got a lot of life left in
Yes.
transitioning to the different working in the civilian life versus, like say, being in the military, where I mean you got almost everything, your whole life structure. You know what, you know you're gonna get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You know what you're gonna do every day. So to add in what you discussed in the longer mental health, but just what challenges you see that a young veteran are facing just transitioning from that structure to the civilian life?
Obtaining good employment. It is, we at WVSJ work a lot with corporate America because what women veterans get offered to as jobs are not the same as our male counterparts. We've found that we can come out as a higher ranking NCO and be offered a secretary or a receptionist job, and our male counterpart will be offered a C-suite job. And because a lot of women veterans come out with dependents, they're more apt to take the first job that is offered because they need the financial support in order to take care of their children. But then that leads to mental frustration because you're talking about, for me, I came out, I had managed over 300 troops. And the first job I was offered was an administrative assistant. I was good at paperwork, but that was not where my talent lied. But because I had young dependents, I took the job, which leads to job hopping and the sadness. And if you are only making $10 to $12 an hour, that greatly impacts your housing instability, transportation, and food. So it's being able to teach women veterans how to assess their skills and how to advocate on their behalf and to find meaningful employment. But then on the other side, it is teaching and working with employers to understand what we bring to the table.
That's great. So before I interrupt you, is there anything else you would like to tell us about suicide prevention and suicide? Because as you mentioned, it affects the entire family member.
It does.
So,
It does. And employment is just one small facet of suicide prevention. It is having people that look like me, that are out in the community advocating, that are allowing other women veterans to see someone that looks like them, that's talking mental health, that is talking about resources that are available. Because a lot of them, if they are going through challenges, they tend to isolate themselves. So to be out in the community, to be visible on the different social media platforms are key to allowing women veterans to see what is available and to reach out for help. So it is, again, bombarding the airways, being into the spaces, to being available, to working with families so that it is not just the veteran, it is the whole family. Because the first person that will notice the signs of just the ideology of suicide are those closest to you.
and thank you for that. In your bio, you also work at several technical colleges from my experience at Chattahoochee Tech. They have just this year they have emphasized and actually put some resources available for veterans that are coming out or in transition. Do you have any comments on on helping what we were talking about earlier, on helping the transition process and also helping identify, like you said, with female, helping have it accompanied, number one. And number two is educating corporate America that 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 female veterans are just as qualified as male veterans. And okay, speak on that first, and I got another question.
Like you said, it is getting out in corporate America because a lot of veterans come out and go to school. So to be able to just intersect in those facilities, I went to Atlanta Tech as a veteran, and I taught at Atlanta Tech as a veteran. So with me being visible and talking about my veteran status, it allowed other veterans to approach me about what they need. Atlanta Tech has a veteran coordinator who just happens to be a veteran, and she is really good about getting in to the spaces and talking to veterans and being able to show what is available and connecting with outside organizations that they can direct and refer veterans to.
Well, that's also my another thought that I've seen on transition is helping veterans. No, it's really to put your resume in corporate lingo rather than the military. So, what comments you have on that?
Of course, everyone knows that the veteran in the military language has a life of its own. And we speak a different language. And most of the time we gravitate to other veterans. We work again with women veterans because we have to be able to translate what we did in the military into corporate America and show the value of it. Because that will really determine pay. And that's the only reason we're there, is for good pay, good benefits, and to feel like we are a part of, again, something bigger than ourselves. Because if you've been in the military for a day, 4 days, 4 years, we understand team and culture that relates to doing just that, being a part of something bigger than ourselves. So it is, again, being able to teach the veteran how to speak the language, how to work and move seamlessly into corporate America. But it is also teaching corporate America how valuable we are, because sometimes our military bearing creates hostile cultures, because if you are early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. So we understand getting there early, getting the job done, and that's not always how the civilian workforce works. So again, teaching veterans how to adapt to the culture, how to show their value, and becoming a part of the civilian team. Because again, we speak a different language, and being
We
able to handle that.
we we do, and also what I found out is when you mentioned culture is people talk about networking and relationship building all the time, but to really put it in action, you got to work on it. It's more than asking somebody for their phone number and hoping they'll take your call or they'll call you back. That's not gonna get you there. So you have to work on your relationship building and network.
Oh, yes. It is networking on purpose. And we have classes that we sit down with women veteran and talk about literally what that looks like, what that feels like, knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. Because again, sometimes that frustration will transition back to mental wellness, how you feel about yourself. Because if you're not healthy mentally, sometimes it leads to not being healthy physically. And when you're not healthy physically, it impacts your ability to work. So again, all of those things are intertwined and closely related, so that we talk to corporate America, and there are a lot of organizations that understand that, and they also understand that veterans' mental wellness is completely different from civilian mental wellness.
Great. So what's next on your that you would like to tell us about?
Um, while we're talking about mental wellness, let's talk about how human trafficking has become a big part of the veteran culture.
Okay.
And a lot of people do not think that the veteran community intersects with human trafficking at all. And we can go back to, there are instances at some very big military installations that have been directly involved and have had a lot of military personnel that have been disciplined for human trafficking. We've had veterans that have come up missing, that have been listed as AWOL, and they've been sold into the human trafficking area. We've got veterans that transition, and the things that we spoke about early, job security, mental wellness, housing stability, sometimes even intimate partner incidences lead them into a path of human trafficking. Atlanta is very big in the human trafficking arena, I'm sad to say.
Yeah.
And a lot of it happens near military installations.
Okay. So in your continued journey in life, so what's at the position you are now? So where are you headed next?
As Woman Veteran of the Year, I will travel all over Georgia because there are things that need to be talked about in the boardrooms, as well as in the meeting rooms and in homes, making sure our veterans are taken care of, talking about the things that they need. Uh, we repeat it continuously, and we'll have to shout it from the hills, and we will continue to shout it from the hills. Women veteran are the only sector of the veteran population who volunteered to serve. There was no draft for us. We raised our right hand. We gave our time. Some gave their lives. We left our children to serve our country. So it is not getting something for free for us to demand and to receive a hero's welcome in every space that we're in.
Well, and also along those lines is you and I both happen to grow up in Georgia, in South Georgia. In Georgia is one of the states that has quite at least 4 military bases plus the Georgia National Guard. So there's a large population of active military in veterans in Georgia.
Yes,
That's just a point I want to
it,
throw
it
out.
is. And I'm glad you brought up the Georgia National Guard because I started my career, a senior in high school, signed up for the Georgia National Guard, was doing drills 1 week in the month and loved it. But they are sometimes a forgotten population. We find that they go back to the rural areas, not just Georgia, but all over the United States, and there are not resources there to support them. And we need to be able to make these things available for those that have served. When they talk about suicide numbers, you rarely hear them talk about the suicide numbers for Guard and Reserves. Using Guard and Reserve in conflicts and more active duty time has increased threefold. But when they come back, they don't always qualify for veteran and VA benefits. So it is still our duty to take care of them because they serve in the same theaters. They have to deal with the same mental challenges. They have to deal with moral injury. And until we stop and look at them as military members and provide the same support, suicide numbers are going to continue to go up for Guard and Reserve personnel. And that's a scary thing.
It is, and another point I want to ask you about is I believe the Georgia Department of Veteran Services has a special program that are dealing with suicide. The
They
one
do.
that I believe my friend Vita uh, uh, communicated with me about it. So, are you part of that?
I do attend. They have a whole program that's dedicated to suicide prevention and awareness. And they travel all over the state of Georgia. I believe it's almost 48 different Guard and Reserve organizations throughout the state. So again, it is on, they just had a symposium, a summit just yesterday at the state capitol talking about suicide prevention. So it is definitely something that is near and dear to everybody's heart. It is on everybody's mind because again, the numbers for Georgia is going up and we've got to get into the community and train the civilians on what to see and what it is they're seeing. Clergy, our religious side of it, because for our weekend warriors, sometimes the religious aspect is the first line.
And okay, another thing is rural veterans. In your opinion, and can the VA do more to help rural veterans?
Everybody can do more. The VA, the state, our civilian aspects, the national board that I sit on, which is Ag Safety, we talk about diversity and inclusion, safety, mental health awareness, talking to our veterans. Right now, I'm sure everyone has heard all over the news and the internet that they're giving money for farmers. And there is a big push to get veterans to go into the agriculture community. And that is because a lot of times there is therapy and healing in the agriculture and working in that space. But there are still certain challenges that are very visible in going into farming. I myself am a farmer now, and I'm looking at all of the challenges. And my big push from the mental health side is to make sure that our veterans who are farmers understand that there is someone to talk to. There are things that are possible, and there are VA resources that can help you. There are other nonprofit sectors that can help you. So again, connecting the dots and connecting our veterans to what's available.
That is great. So do you think what happened in the last year with the PAC Act helped the resources that is available as far as get them through all of the red tape and getting it down to veterans?
It can make an impact, but we also have to make sure that our veterans who are in the rural community know about it, that the resources are available to them. Georgia Veteran Services has offices all over, but that does nothing if the veterans don't go in, if they don't think that they're entitled, or even if they just don't know. I have a family member that's a veteran that did 15 years and retired and have some of the ailments and the exposure and the issues that are directly listed in the PAC Act. But to get them to go in and file, because again, you've got to be able to do that paradigm breach to say that there is something here for you. There is a resource here that's available to you. And because of you raising your right hand, you are entitled to it. It's not something that you didn't earn because you earned this.
Well, I have a veteran organization that's 11 years old, Veteran Helping Veterans, and that's why we started it along with myself and several other people, and that's the challenge is uh, motivating people to to get in the system. So any suggestions you have would like to put out would be greatly
Um,
appreciated.
it is being in the community. WBSJ received in 2020 the Medal of Honor Community Service Award. And everybody knows about the Medal of Honor and who they recognize. And they're starting to recognize civilian organizations for their community work. And when I tell you, when we went to get the award, it was the amount of questions that were asked and the fact that people did not understand that women veterans were out there who had served, that needs were being met, and that we were being the intersector of benefits and services, and having our women veteran stories being told made a big difference. Until they feel like they are being honored and that they are not being challenged, then you won't get the women veteran that will come out, because
Okay,
the scars are deep.
uh, and I'm going to use this point in the program to state that the program is nonpartisan, so we don't take political side. But issue I want to put out is getting the vote out and voting and be an educated voter. Uh, and uh, and as always, veterans vote at a high rate, but I don't have any facts, but I would bet that women veterans vote at a higher rate than male. And I think it's a challenge to, as part of what you're talking about, is to get women veterans involved in not necessarily running for office, but make sure that they vote for people that has their what they need, that's going to advocate for what they need. So what are your thoughts on that?
Again, voting is important for everyone. The state of Georgia is lucky enough, and I've been lucky enough to work with Sandra Scott, state representative, Senator Tanya Anderson, who are both veterans, and they have the heart of veterans put on Front Street at all times. There are organizations that talk about Go Run Lead, and it's bringing women veterans into positions of leadership, not just in the political aspect, but in their community. And those are the things that can change the dynamics. Because if our voice isn't heard and we don't convey what we need, we go lacking. Veterans Court is a part of the community that embraces veterans and understand that the things that happen with veterans, they don't blow it off. They don't say you don't get punished, but they understand that we come with a unique set of qualifications and talent, and sometimes problems that are directly related to our service. And they are about taking care of the veteran. We are held
Well, that's,
accountable.
and I'm going to get back, but you just mentioned that in my organization, Veteran Helping Veterans, we actually helped start the Clayton County Veteran Court. And I have a representative on there. He's an Air Force guy. So I got to brag about my Air Force guy. And the other thing is the mayor of Riverdale is very veteran friendly.
Yes.
Her name is Dr. Evelyn Dixon. So and my organization actually meets at Riverdale Town Center, and she take care of us. So
there are, sad to say, not enough veteran courts throughout the state of Georgia. It needs to be one in every county because every county has a veteran in it. And to be able to look at those things, because we're not saying that we're perfect, but when we get into trouble, look at the whole person and take all of that into consideration, because benefits are lost through incarceration. Sometimes it's the other things that are mitigating circumstances, mental stability, housing instability, human trafficking. And most of the time, the question is never asked, are you a veteran? Because it doesn't excuse what has happened, but sometimes it will shed light on why it happened.
well, we could spend a whole hour on this now, but because the sheriff of Cobb County has he has a program in place to, like you say, identify veterans that are in jail, because like you mentioned, they will not identify themselves. So
Yes.
he has a program in place to identify them and assign of someone from veteran court to deal with them. And the other point I want to make on when we've been doing this program for 7 years plus. About 5 years ago, Anthony and myself, we really did a lot of research on veteran court, and to find out the very first one was started in Buffalo years back. But you're exactly right. They should be in every county. And the other point is you made is, well, veterans are unique, and why they get in trouble is because of the way we were when we were in the military. We had certain traits and certain routines that were okay, and when we get out and we're dealing with the civilian world, it's a lot of time in veteran court, for example, in Clayton County, is the veteran, they didn't really intend to break the rules, but it was their conflict with who they were dealing with. Once they start dealing with a veteran, it's a different story. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
It is. And again, it is educating and finding individuals that want to collaborate and to work to make life better for those of us who wrote the blank check. And there are those that want to, but unless you are out in that space and talking the talk and walking the walk and being an advocate, they don't know. And it is making it available, again, not only for our civilian family members, but for the veterans.
That's good. We only got about 10 minutes left. So what are the hot items do you think?
For me,
Yes.
It is honoring women veterans. Um, I challenge everybody to take a look at the women that are around you. And I think you'll be greatly surprised by how many of them have military affiliation. Um, all you have to do is watch. We talk a certain way, we walk a certain way, we work a certain way, and we are in our community a lot. Just because we took off the uniform doesn't mean we stopped serving. And don't question us. Our guard and reserve tags, our military tags aren't always our husband or our brother or our uncle. It is us. And for our women veteran out there, I challenge you to tell your story. It is vitally important for people to know who we are and what we are, because we are, to say brilliant and excellent, I would be biased, but I think that we bring a lot to the community, and it takes us telling our story, advocating for ourselves and other women veterans, and being the example that you want to see.
Let's the system that's in place now, 988. Can you just give us a little bit of instruction on how that works?
The system again, say that again, sir.
The 988. If you have an emergency, the number
Yes.
that published is to dial 988.
Yes, the suicide prevention, the cry for help, crisis management number, it's just like the 911. You have to call it to get the help. It's non-judgmental, and they know the resources that you need. The city of Atlanta now has a social worker type person that will go to calls that are specifically stated that it is a mental health crisis, because we don't always get the right results if we don't say it is a mental health crisis. And again, the 988 allows people to get the help before it gets to someone calling 911.
Great. So this is, you are from South Georgia. I grew up on a farm. You grew up on a farm. So we talked a little bit. So what are your future? You are now a farmer and then going to increase it. Is that correct?
Yes, I have several hats that I will be wearing simultaneously. Um, I will still be a caterer. I will run my catering company in South Georgia, but I understand the importance of farming. I also understand the therapeutic side of farming for veterans. So it is a selfish reason also for me to have bought my land to help my healing, but also as a chef, I understand that a lot of the stuff that we get is sitting out in the port in Savannah, Georgia, waiting to be brought into our stores. So to be able to do that, as well as train future farmers, allow them to see that agriculture is a viable and an honorable profession. And on bringing veteran into farming, I also want to make sure that we take care of our veterans through mental wellness, because Mother Nature has proven very brutal in the last year to Georgia farmers. So to be able to talk to farmers and make sure they know what safety mechanisms are in place for their mental wellness. So again, I'm a chef, I'm a farmer, I'm an advocate, and most of all, I am a proud woman veteran.
Well, thank you. this has been a very informative, very enjoyable program for me. And on behalf of Veterans Today, my co-host and myself, Herman Anderson, Veterans Today, WCEG Network, and we always, if Anthony was here, he would give a shout out to our founder, Ms. Penny Rogers. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm also go again let Anthony know he has our prayers and our condolences. Yes. And with that, everyone, have a good Friday, good weekend. This is we're gonna close Veterans Today and thank our guest, Connie Baptiste. We thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. It was my honor.